Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry going to be a devastating duo in the backfield for NFL defenses to try and slow down. And Jackson also has Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews to throw the football to. So this Ravens offense is going to be more than just fine this year. I think they're going to be a very scary team to try and slow down and always going to have a great defense. So once again, going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And they start off the season with quite the matchup, a road trip to face the Buffalo Bills. This one on Sunday Night Football as well. This is going to be a great game. Really looking forward to this one. It's a interesting matchup, particularly because Josh Allen won the MVP last year. Many people believe that it should have gone to Lamar Jackson. Now they'll have a chance to settle it on the field in prime time. This is going to be a really close one. The Bills have the home field advantage early on in the season. I think this is going to be a really tough game for the Ravens to win on the road, but we are going to pick them to do that. I think having Derrick Henry here is going to be the biggest key. Really, just be able to start hitting the Bills early on with the run game. And if they can establish that, get the dual threat ability of Lamar Jackson used later on, I think the Ravens can pull away and win this one.
And this will be a revenge game of sorts as well, considering that the Ravens did lose to the Bills last year because Mark Andrews was unable to come down with the ball on their 2-point conversion. So Ravens will be out for blood here, and we do have them getting the revenge against the Bills here. Week 2 will be a pretty easy game, a divisional opponent in the Cleveland Browns, and Cleveland is going to be one of the weirdest teams next year with their quarterback room consisting of Joe Flacco, who will be the week 1 starter, along with both Shadur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. They have consolidated their quarterback room to just those three now, which is a lot better, but still a lot of decisions to be made. The offense is still going to be okay with Jerry Jeudy and a running back room that consists of Dylan Sampson and Quinshot Judkins possibly. But the defense is going to be the big thing for the Browns to keep them competitive with Myles Garrett and Mason Graham, along with a secondary that has Denzel Ward. But it's going to be very difficult to stop this Ravens offense, especially given that they have the home field advantage here. I don't think the Browns will stand much of a chance. The Ravens will move to 2-0. And then they have another primetime game in week 3. This time it is Monday night against the Detroit Lions. And the Lions, I think, are also going to be a pretty interesting team, seeing how they move forward without their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. If this offense can still be as consistent as it was last year when Ben Johnson was the OC, then I think they are going to be just fine and will be pretty competitive in this game. But if they do suffer with a new offensive coordinator, then maybe the Ravens can run away with this, especially at home here. I think Jared Goff is still very, very solid, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Not to mention that running back duo that they have, and having Aiden Hutchinson return as well on that defense. Detroit's still going to be a fairly solid team, but this Ravens team is just built different. They're going to start the season off 3-0 behind that mighty defense.
And then it's a road trip to face the Kansas City Chiefs. This one doesn't typically go well for the Ravens in the playoffs. Bringing it to the regular season, still going to be a really tough matchup. Got to go to Arrowhead as well. And it really is just part of a brutal stretch to start the season. The Browns are the only bad team that they play out of these first 6 games. I think the Chiefs are going to be a really tough out for the Ravens, especially after already having played the Bills and Lions. It's going to start to wear on them a little bit playing against the best teams in the NFL. And with the Chiefs having the home field advantage, I think that Mahomes is going to be able to get it done. This is going to be a really close game, but I just don't see the Ravens starting the year 4-0, beating three of the best teams in the NFL. And then it's a home game against the Houston Texans. The Texans, a very, very solid team once again this year. I think they'll be able to put up a really good fight against the Ravens. Home field advantage is going to be a big key here. And I think also Derrick Henry is going to be a big factor in this game. The Texans running back room is a little bit iffy right now. It looks like Joe Mixon could potentially miss the majority, if not all, of the season. So they're relying on Nick Chubb to not be washed up. And I don't know if that's going to end up working out for him. So the Texans could potentially just be relying on CJ Stroud to throw the football, and with their offensive line, things could get dicey quick. Against the Ravens, I don't think that plan is going to work out, so I have the Ravens winning this one, moving to 4-1.
And this stretch of games continues to be very tough with a matchup against the Rams. Matthew Stafford back as the starting quarterback, and there are some concerns about his health, particularly with his back injury, but I still think he will be good to go by the time that they have to play the Ravens. And the wide receiver room looks a little bit different now that Cooper Kupp is a Seattle Seahawk. Puka Nacua moving into that wide receiver one role. They brought in Devontae Adams as their wide receiver two to take some of that pressure off of Puka, considering that Devontae Adams is still one of the best route runners in the NFL. The defense also very, very solid with a lot of great young players, including the reigning defensive rookie of the year. This is going to be a tough Rams team to beat, but given the fact that Stafford will still be dealing with an injury, even if he's able to suit up for this game and look fairly good, that injury and the age of Stafford is going to come into consideration here, especially when you're going up against a dynamic and explosive offense that has probably the best run game in the NFL with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And that defense just has so many good players. That secondary is loaded with Kyle Hamilton, who just recently got an extension, Malachi Starks, who they drafted, Marlon Humphrey, Jair Alexander, who they got in free agency. It's just such a good defense. I don't think the Rams will be able to put up much of a fight in this game, can stay close early on, but the Ravens are just the more complete team and the better team. They'll be 5-1 heading into their bye week. And then they play the Bears coming out of that bye week. And the Bears are going to be an interesting team given the fact that they have built so much around Caleb Williams and they finally brought in a head coach with an offensive mind in Ben Johnson. And if everything works out and all these weapons that they have brought in pan out the way they should, including Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, who they drafted, Rome Odunze starts to break out, and this running back room that doesn't really have a very convincing RB1, then this offense can be fairly decent. But once again, this Ravens defense is just so good. I don't think the Bears will be able to hold up against this Ravens defense, even with the additions they've made to the offensive line. And considering the defensive line isn't going to be one of the best in the league, especially in terms of generating a pass rush, Lamar Jackson have way too much time. And once again, the Ravens are just way too dominant to lose a game to the Bears here. They start the season 6-1.
And then it's three straight road trips. The first one going to be on Thursday night against the Dolphins. And this one should be relatively interesting. Whether or not Tua can stay healthy is going to be one of the biggest storylines for the Dolphins. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. So their offense is very on or off. If either of those guys is injured, then I think it's going to be a really rough year for the Dolphins. Even if they're healthy, I still don't trust this defense very much. So I think it would be really tough for the Dolphins to win this game. We have the Ravens winning. The Vikings, going to be another interesting season for them. Sam Darnold surprised a lot of people last year, and Vikings fans are certainly hoping that J.J. McCarthy will do the same. I'm personally not as high on him as many other people are. I don't think he's going to be as good of a quarterback as they were hoping for, especially drafting him in the first round. He'll probably be okay. And with Justin Jefferson at wide receiver, that's really all you can ask for. So he has a great room to really help him in his development. But in his first NFL season, after being injured for a whole year, I just don't think it's going to go very well. So we have the Vikings losing this game to the Ravens. Then a road trip to the Browns. And Connor already hit most of the points earlier. The Browns just aren't going to be very good. Ravens are not losing game two, even though they're going on the road this time. That'll move them to 9-1.
Following week is against the New York Jets, who have made some changes to their offense. Aaron Rodgers is out, and Justin Fields is in, hoping that Ohio State connection between Fields and Garrett Wilson, who they just gave a massive contract extension to, works out. An offensive line that has been built through the NFL draft with top 10 picks, hoping to protect Justin Fields and allow him to develop as a passer. and a defense that is led by Sauce Gardner, one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL, even if his stats don't always show it. This Jets team is going to be much improved, and I think still very competitive, but it's the same story over and over again. This Ravens team is just built different. I don't see them losing this game, especially at home, to the Jets. It's a battle of mobile quarterbacks, but with the track record we've seen, Lamar Jackson has been able to limit turnovers and actually throw the ball very well. Justin Fields has not really proven that yet. Ravens get the win and move to 10-1. And then it's a Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are going to be a really fun offense to watch. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, just a phenomenal and explosive offense, but the defense is where there are the concerns. The secondary is lacking. And if they had not just offered Trey Hendrickson his extension, which he had signed, then this Bengals defense would be in a lot of trouble with basically no pass rush and no secondary to defend any of these weapons. But with Trey Hendrickson, it makes it a little bit more manageable. And the AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions in all of football. It's going to be really hard for either of these teams to beat each other, especially when they have to play each other twice in a season. But for right now, we're going to lean with the team that has the home field advantage, riding such a long win streak. The Ravens are going to get the win here on Thursday night and move to 11-1.
Then it's a game against the Steelers, this time at home. And I think this is actually going to be a sneaky, difficult game. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Steelers quarterback, and I don't know if he's necessarily going to be their savior. Jets fans seem to think the same thing, and we all saw how that turned out last year. But I still think the Steelers are going to be a very solid team. We typically see them around 9 or 10 wins every year. Don't really expect that to change. You still have TJ Watt on the defense, so they're going to be a really good team. And with Aaron Rodgers, they absolutely should have a solid offense. They also brought in DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks. This game against the Ravens, I think, really could go either way. And with the Ravens being on such a long win streak, I think it's due to come to an end at some point. We have that being this home game against the Steelers. And then a road trip to face the Cincinnati Bengals. This one, game two, Connor just talked about it. This is only 2 weeks apart, and I think that it's really tough to beat a team twice. The Bengals are going to have a really, really good offense this year, and while the defense might not be as good, I have a feeling that they're going to be able to get one of these two against the Ravens. This time at home, Bengals get it done, dropping the Ravens to 11-3.
Hoping to get out of this little losing streak, the Ravens will take on the New England Patriots for their last home game of the season. And the Patriots are a much improved team, one that I'm actually really excited to watch. Drake May, when he took over this offense last season in his rookie year, looked very, very comfortable and very, very good. And they just bolstered this offense, getting him Stephon Diggs to be his primary wide receiver, Will Campbell joining the offensive line, and Trevion Henderson looking like an absolute steal in the second round at running back, going to be a huge X factor for this offense. And a defense that has Christian Gonzalez, who is one of the best young corners in the NFL. I'm really excited to see how this Patriots team performs this season, and we're both really high on them. But once again, against this Ravens team, especially when they've lost 2 games in a row and looking to get back in the win column before another tough set of games to end the season, I do think the Ravens will be able to squeak out a win here, moving them to 12-3 before they go on the road to take on the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers just made one of the biggest moves of the season, trading for Micah Parsons and only giving up Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks. Now, Kenny Clark is still a very solid player, but when you're getting one of the premier edge rushers in the NFL, that is a for sure deal that you will take every single time. In my opinion, this makes the Packers one of the front runners in the NFC this season because every other position outside of their secondary is very, very good. Jordan Love continues to get better every season. Josh Jacobs was one of the best running backs in the NFL last year. The wide receiver room, although it doesn't have a true wide receiver one, is made up of a lot of really solid guys like Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, their first round draft pick, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, just a ton of great players. And an offensive line that has done fairly well. And then the defensive line, already talked about it with Micah Parsons being added, but already a very good defensive line. The linebacker core is great as well. Xavier McKinney is one of the best safeties in the NFL as well. But the secondary is the only thing that may hold them back. But I don't think it'll be enough to really make a difference if the rest of this team can pull through. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. I'm shocked that it's at 1 o'clock, but the Ravens are actually going to drop this one and go to 12-4 before a rematch with the Steelers on the road to finish their season. And Jonah already talked a lot about the Steelers. I do think that the Steelers team is actually going to be fairly solid, even though Aaron Rodgers hasn't been playing the greatest football the last 2 seasons. Maybe that's just because he was on the Jets and the Jets have been awful the last few years. But this defense is legit with TJ Watt, not to mention a secondary that has Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey, and Darius Slay. But it's hard to beat a team twice. We've said it for the Bengals. It's the same thing for the Steelers and the same thing for the Ravens. The Ravens will avenge their loss and move to 13-4 with a huge win over the Steelers on the road.
And 13-4 is a one-game improvement over what we saw from the Ravens last season. And I think the floor is only a little bit worse at 10 wins, still in the double digits, which is very solid. This schedule just doesn't seem too bad once you get through the those first 6 games. Even if they were to go 1-5 there, I think there's only 2 losses the rest of the way for Baltimore. The ceiling 14-3. I think with their schedule, kind of the same thing like I was just saying, it is going to be really tough for them to do any better than 14-3. The Vegas over-unders at 11.5, just slightly favoring the over. So Vegas seems to like them around 12 wins, just under that 13-win mark that we have them at this season.
This Ravens team is reminding me a lot of the Eagles team from last year. They seem to be one of the most complete teams in the NFL. You have a phenomenal MVP caliber quarterback. You have one of the best running backs in the league, a wide receiver core that can get the job done behind a great offensive line, and one of the best defenses in the entire league. The Ravens are personally my favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't know who could stop this offense. And I don't know anyone that's going to be able to consistently produce against this defense. This is going to be a great team to watch and one of the best teams that we will see this season. But you'll have to stick around for the end of the series to figure out where we have the Ravens going in the playoffs. So until then, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of our content, and we will see you in the next video.